Cool. How you doing, everybody? Today, on the podcast today for our little career explanation is my good friend Trevor and Kevin. They both spent some time in armed forces, primarily the Army. Both of you guys were in the Army, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Right. Trevor, Kevin, whoever wants to chime in, how long were you in the Army for?
All right, so I'll go first. I kind of got dealt the short end of the stick, but I was in the Army for about 4.5 years. I signed a contract for 6 years. Anything 6 years. So I was a helicopter engine mechanic. Anything aviation, they had to do 6 years. You can't do 4, you can't do 2. So they know they're going to spend the first year training me, putting me through. I go through basic training for a little bit. Then I go to our schooling. So I went to schooling for, I think it was 22 weeks. All this away from your family. So keep that in mind. And then after that, we get sent to our first station. So that's ended up where I met Kevin. And then they diagnosed me with scoliosis. So they ended up medically discharging me. So I was able to get disability and everything from that. So they're still giving me a little nice chunk of money to keep my life going here because they messed up my body. So they're paying me back for it. But yeah, that's my little story, Kev.
Yeah, so like Trevor said, I was his boss when we were both in the Army. Personally, I did 8 years. I just kind of got out when my contract was up. I think I learned a lot during that time, and I'm excited to get into that with y'all. So yeah, no, 8 years, and I thought it was great, honestly.
Now, when people go into the service, they go through a basic training. I've never done it myself, but from what I'm led to believe, and let me know if I'm wrong, it's kind of a way for them to have you acclimate to being more responsible. And from what I've seen, like I said, I'm looking at it from the outside. So you guys let me know. It seems like they make you all look the same, act the same.
I'll take a stab at that. So when you join basic training, their goal is to kind of take people from every corner of the US pretty much. So they're getting people from New York to Alaska to Miami to California. And what they're doing is basically taking away all of the things that make you an individual. So you're all in the same uniform, your hair's the same, you're all shaven, you look pretty much all the same. And their goal is to kind of show you that who you are as a person is less important to the team's mission. The team can't succeed without everyone working together. And the Army is kind of built on that teamwork philosophy. So what they're really trying to do is not break you down. I know people say like, oh, they're trying to break you down. It's really not that. They're just trying to show you that teamwork is what's going to help you complete that mission. Trevor?
Yeah, so I want to say it was about 3 years after I joined, they started changing the basic training to, or from the movie stigma of do 20 push-ups, get up, do 20 sit-ups to do 20 pull-ups, whatever it is. It's not as focused as it is on physical as it used to be. They changed it more towards the critical thinking aspect. So just to chime in a little bit more to Kevin, what he was saying is now it's even less of the let's break you down. What makes you can now keep maybe your muscle or whatever it is. Maybe if you want to be over 200 pounds, I mean, there's still some regulation in there. They made the fitness test a little more lenient when we started going through too. So, I mean, it's kind of changed a little bit more from tearing them down, like we used to say, tearing them down and building them up, to more of just kind of molding a whole team together who, like Kevin said, are from everywhere.
And how long is that training?
I think that's 10 weeks, right, Kev?
Yeah, it's 10 weeks, and it depends on your MOS. So I know if you're infantry, they lengthened it to 22 weeks. But one thing I did see was on Business Insider. So when Trevor and I joined the Army, when you get to basic training, it was pretty much like you're going and running and doing all this stuff, and everyone's yelling at you, and there's no way like to avoid that. So I know they changed it, I think in the last 6 months, to where you're in your platoon, which is about 40 of y'all. It's like your group that you kind of hang out with. So you're in your platoon right when you get there, and you're given a mission. So like you'll see like a bunch of ammo cans, and you'll have to move them and set them up like you would, originally. So they've definitely changed it. It's not like you're going to get there and they're just going to scream at you and make you do push-ups. There's an actual mission now. So I think that is definitely
kind of a
good
goal.
thing. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it's because when Trevor and I went, you could show up and do everything correctly, you still get yelled at. And for a volunteer army, it's like, well, okay, we joined voluntarily and you're treating us like this. So the Army's changed that within the last 6 months. It's a lot more teamwork based now. And Business Insider's got a lot of videos on that if y'all want to take a look at that.
So now, like, cool. Like I visited Trevor when he was in, lack of a better term, Nashville. I don't think it's Clarksville or something like, but everybody knows Nashville. And I went on that base, and just like I said, all my knowledge is from movies. So when I went on that base, it was like a little city. It had a little like they call it a PX or something like that. A little that, and then there was a clinic. Is that how most of those bases are? You're in like a little. Is it all self-contained? Is what I'm getting at. Like when I went into, help me out. Is that Fort Campbell?
Yeah.
So I went into Fort Campbell. I went through the gates, and they went through the car and all that stuff. You go through. I mean, that's like on TV. That was like on TV. You know, you're not getting through without these armed guys taking a look at you.
Yeah.
And then once I got in, it seems like everything is contained inside those 4 walls. Is that? I mean, like you don't ever have to leave there if you don't want to.
Yeah. They try to keep you as isolated as possible is how I saw it. They kind of put you guys into this little corner of the map or whatever you guys say. But each base, it's fully self-sufficient.
Well, I remember you, Trev, you lived in a little home.
Yep.
That was on that base. Did you mow that lawn, or is it like an army guy that mows that lawn?
Well,
I mean, is that a job in the army? Mow lawn?
No. So actually, the people on base it's called Campbell Crossing at where we were, but it's a private company. So Elon Musk could come in and buy this company and start building houses on the base. Essentially,
because I guess what I'm kind of leading into is you two guys fixed helicopters, which is really neat to me. But I know when I was thinking of going in, I was looking at the Navy, and they were talking about firemen. And the first thing that clicked in my head was, oh, firemen. You know, I've never thought about being a fireman, but fireman really isn't fireman in the Navy. Fireman is like janitor. I don't know where they came up with the term. Maybe that's why they trick kids into it. So I decided not to do that. But the I hate to use this word, the spectrum of jobs, does it go from janitor to, I know in the Navy, it goes like from janitor to nuclear engineer. I mean, when you guys went in, what was available to you?
I'll take a stab at it. So pretty much what dictates the Army's got, I want to say like 170 jobs. And essentially what you do is you show up to the recruiting office, and then you take what's called the ASVAB. That's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Essentially what that is a test to see how smart you are. So I think there's a minimum score that qualifies you for every single job in the Army. And depending on what score you get, you're eligible for, say, all of them or maybe half of them or what. But no, they have everything. I mean, you've got like your infantry. So like whatever, it's like when you think of the standard Army guy running through the field, shooting and stuff, like that's what people think we all do.
Yeah, those movies. That's the job.
Yeah,
we're trying to clear up some of those misconceptions.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what movies they would know, but like Jarhead and stuff, like Saving Private Ryan, those are all infantry guys. So we have those, obviously. Then you've got like your aviation ones, like Trevor and I, and then you have like your artillery guys, which are like big cannon guys. But you also have like cooks. There's a lot of logistical jobs. Most Army jobs are logistics. So we have like people who work with the paperwork for our pay. And then the radio guys, like there's so many jobs in like originally I was supposed to be a human intelligence collector, like from Men in Black. I didn't qualify for that. Ended up being between the job I had now, a helicopter engine mechanic, and an animal care specialist. So there are so many jobs in the Army. You'd be wise to just go on the Army website and just look them all up, because there are so many you don't even realize the military would even have.
Yeah, from the civilian point of view, you know, I see, you know, helicopters and tanks and jeeps and stuff, but never think about. My guess is now talking to you guys is like maybe 20% of the people are maybe driving that tank or operating, and probably 80% of the people are maintaining the tank and
Fixing
maintaining the
it.
people that maintain the tank.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because for every tanker or aviation guy you have, they have to get paid, they have to get fed, their clothes need to be washed, they have to have plumbing where they are. There's so much that goes behind just one of those frontline kind of jobs. And you don't realize that there's so many until you look.
So you guys went through the basic training, and then you went to a school to learn how to fix helicopters or helicopter engines.
Yeah, correct.
And how long was that school?
I want to say it's 24 weeks it depends each person. So it's advanced individual training school. I'm positive. And so each person, it's different. Like Kevin said, he could have been the animal patroller or whatever it was. I could have been what I wanted to do was combat engineer. So I wanted to go build bridges in the middle of combat. And then my recruiter said, look, your ASVAB score was too high. You can't do that. I'm not going to let you go do that. So depending on your job, I think combat engineer was like a 6-week-long course. Since we're doing helicopter engines, they got a little bit more to teach us. So I want to say the helicopter one was 22 or 24.
So that school, I work at a school. Is that so? As my kids, it's, we're going through 6-7 periods a day, about 50 minutes long. Learning, studying this, watching this, doing this. Is that school like? Is it books? Is it touching wrenches? What is that?
So from what I remember, the first 2 weeks are all in the books because most people have not touched a helicopter engine. They just haven't. So you're learning like what a wrench is and how a ratchet works pretty much. But all the rest of the 20 weeks, it's all hands-on. So essentially what it'll be is the instructor is paired up with, say, 10 of y'all. He'll have a task that's like, okay, do this to the engine. And then you'll all just fall in, and you got a manual that'll tell you all what to do. And then you just kind of do it, and he'll tell you what you did wrong and what you did right. And that's how it essentially is for the, rest of the 20 weeks. But yeah, no, it's pretty much like a school environment for the most part. Like you wake up, you do exercise, you march to the schoolhouse, you work all day, and then you go back to the barracks at, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then, your time is your own.
Can you, because I went to college and I studied one thing and then changed. Can you change? Can you say, hey, I just don't want to do this. I want to do something else.
And
tap in, Trevor. Tap in.
No, so it's at the end of your contract. Whatever your job is, you're signing your contract with that job. Because the contract itself, I mean, there's so many things in play when you're signing that contract. You're giving your life away for however many years. So you can change. I don't know when. I know, like, after my contract, I could have switched and said, hey, look, I want to go do this. So when me and Kevin were working on the engines, we work alongside with the people who work on the propellers or whatever it may be. And maybe they think I would be better over there. So there'd be some times where someone would come into our shop and say, hey, no, your contract's running up. Would you want to come do this job instead? You could go back to schooling, and then we'd sign for you to come back here.
So that's kind of what our friend Brian is doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, when you sign up to go do a job in the Army, you're doing that same job for your whole contract. So one thing I've heard of recruiters doing is saying, if you don't like your job, you can change it. It's a bit disingenuous because you can change it, just not till the end of your contract.
Yeah.
So
what if, I'm sorry, Kevin.
No, go ahead.
What if you don't pass? What if you're failing? What if?
So I failed a couple tests. There's they expect people to fail. So they're getting all these 17, 18, 19-year-old kids and trying to teach them how an engine works. So they're expecting these high school kids to start failing. I want to say for me, I failed. There's a couple sections. I failed one of them, and I came back, I think 2 days later, to retake that. If you fail again, you retake it again. If you fail again, then I think that's when it's a 3 strikes you're out rule.
Yeah, but you're not going to take the test, fail it, and then just take the same test a few days later. So I was 18 for all of 1 month when I left for the Army. Like, I didn't know anything. So like my first test, I failed. And essentially what happened is the instructor stayed with me and the other guys that failed after class and retrained us. And it was better for me because it was one instructor with like 3 of us as opposed to like 10 or 20 of us. But the Army isn't going to have you fail something and give up to you. they invest a lot of money in getting you to the point where they can train you. So they're not just going to say, oh, Trevor's not grasping this concept. Whatever to that. Who cares? They're gonna train you as well as they can.
Yeah, you got to think they're feeding you. They're giving you a house. They're giving you everything you need. So
fancy clothes.
yeah, nice, comfy, fancy clothes.
But I mean, when you think about it, I mean, even like my brother, I mean, that is a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment you're dealing with. I mean, they're just not, and they're trusting it to 18-year-old kids. That's just another mind-blowing concept to think about later on.
Agreed.
Yeah. Now, being a civilian guy, and just watching movies like Full Metal Jacket and Stripes and things of that nature, in my mind, it's, you guys are getting up and you're running for 80 miles and then eating real crappy food and then practicing shooting people. What is a typical day? You guys are mechanics, so what did your day look like? I mean, if you could just like kind of walk through, from waking up. I mean, is everybody waking up at 4 a.m?
Are you asking about school or after school?
No, about like once. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming like the basic training. What's that day look like?
So in basic training, I mean, it varies. So I want to say they split it up every 2 weeks was a different section. So the first 2 weeks was this, then shooting will be week 2, and then learning how to read a map will be week 3, whatever it may be. But you'll wake up, you have to learn what the physical training is. So it's not like we wake up and just do push-ups. You have to wake up and learn how to do a push-up, how exactly to do that push-up, and then how to grade that push-up because you'll have to do it in the future. So they want to get you ready to do it. So we'll wake up and we'll study, or it'll be, I want to say 4:35 a.m. most of the time. Wake up so you could hit we woke up, sung the Soldier's Creed, we sung the Army values, and then we went to our run, came back, went upstairs, got 20 minutes to shower real quick, and then come downstairs, we'll eat, and then go along with our day.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kev.
I'll kind of tap in when once you kind of get out of training. So once you're at your actual job where you're going to be spending, 90% of your Army time. If you're married, you get to live off post. If you're not, you're in the barracks on post. So usually you'll have a first formation where you do physical training. So for us, that was 7 o'clock. So if my first time to be there was 7 o'clock, I'm at my house. I can wake up whenever I need to, as long as I'm there at 7. So we do exercise. It was usually something that we would kind of agree on as a group. So we were doing like running Monday morning, or like weightlifting, or whatever. And then you start work at 9. So you start work at 9, you get lunch from 11:30 to 1, and then you're usually out the door by like 4:30, depending on how that goes. And that's when you're in the States. So it's essentially a 9 to 4:30 job, but you do exercise before that. So it's I mean, I didn't mind it, honestly. Like, you're gonna the hours or whatever. Go ahead.
It felt very similar to just a normal job. I had a couple jobs before I worked. I mean, my father got me to work at a couple different jobs before the Army. So it's very similar to just wake up, go to work, go home.
So if similar to like the grocery store, like we have the Publix grocery store here, it'd be, if you were the guy receiving cans of soup, you're going to get up at 7, get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, do physical training.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then get cleaned up, and then go do the only difference between that job, your job, and just say my job is teaching is there's a physical training attribute at the beginning of it.
Yeah. And we all should be exercising anyway. So it takes out all the guesswork for you. So
What are you trying to say about me, Kevin?
No, you look good. You look great.
So what led you to decide to go into the Army and not, go into construction or plumbing or go to school or, just work any other job besides that?
So for me, I was always a tough student, did not do well in school. I was very smart, didn't do my homework, so I passed my tests. So I just glided on by through high school. And then when I got out, I went to college, and I was in for a rude awakening. It doesn't go your way. You don't get what you want. And now you're also paying for it. So I wanted to stop paying for it. And Army is the first person who offers to pay for it. So went to the Army because college, I saw there wasn't really much of a future because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I was going to college to get English done, to get my math done because I knew I had to. However, I didn't see an end goal, and that didn't give me motivation to keep doing it. So when I inevitably failed college the first time around, the easiest, not the easiest, but the best looking path, because they provided so much for me at the time, and I knew it was a great foundation for my life, was the Army.
Yeah, I kind of knew that I wasn't cut out for college right away. Like I mean, I was like Trevor. I was a smart kid. I just never applied myself because I didn't want to. To me, school was not that interesting. So the recruiter called me up and he's like asking me these questions, and I was like, I mean, I like, to be honest, I had never thought to join the Army. Like I had seen the movies and stuff, but like it never really occurred to me that that was a viable option that I could do. And then I go in there and he starts talking to me about all this stuff, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to college. Suppose this might, who knows? By the time I get out, I'll be, 23. So it's not like the end of the world if I try it and it's just bad. So it seemed like something that not everyone gets the chance to experience. And I kind of like that. I like the rigidity of it too. How because if I'm up, I was the kind of kid where if I could do whatever I want, I would do, what I shouldn't do. So I like the kind of, you will be here at this time. We're going to give you everything that you need. We're going to all eat. I appreciated the kind of structure that the Army gave to me. So that's what really enticed me to it.
Cool. That's good to know, because it kind of appeals to everybody. I apologize that my Zoom recording only allows me 10 more minutes. So maybe we'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
But can I just finish this one off with what was the coolest part or the coolest thing you ever did while in the Army? Was there something that just said, wow, I would not have been able to do this if it wasn't for what I'm doing? Or I know like for me, I'm teaching and it's just in and out, in and out, in and out. But I got to go, I got to do work at Fermilab, and I got to work at Northrop Grumman. I got to meet some celebrities and stuff. Was there anything there like, wow, I know you guys did a lot of traveling, but was there anything you said, wow, this is just so super cool?
I'll take a stab at it then. That's pretty easy. So for me, what I really enjoyed doing, what really gave me a purpose, was going overseas and actually fixing helicopters that do real world work. So when we're back in the States, we're fixing helicopters. They're basically just training flying. But when you're overseas, there's so many lives that are depending on you doing your job correctly. So when they had a helicopter that needed to leave, but it couldn't because the engine had a problem, I would go out and fix it. It can now leave, and then someone's, husband or father can now come home. So you don't really get a chance to impact people's lives like that at 19 outside of the Army.
No.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm very similar to your answer. I don't really necessarily have like the coolest one thing I've done, but it is an unreal feeling. Like Kevin said, I loved going overseas, and you can see the impact you have on the world. And for me, I knew my family was at home rooting me on. So I'm seeing my impact I'm having on my family and the people around me. So it was really cool to just know that like Kevin said, you're making an impact on the world. And at 19, it's not many 19-year-olds are doing the same.
I got to go scuba diving off the coast of Djibouti down in Africa, kind of by Somalia. I got brushed up by a jellyfish, so that was a bummer, but it was really cool.
That's cool. Just 2 more things, if I can fit them in time, and I apologize, guys, I really do about the time. But what my kids will want to know, and I kind of got this, is what they always want to know is, and it's a little personal, and I know you guys do not get paid a lot.
No.
Well, no, but I do know that you do, but you do get housing, which is something I don't get, which you do get medical, which is something I don't get. Food, which is, you write it off or write it on for whatever. I don't know how good the food is there, but I've just seen what I see on TV. but some payments after the fact. Like I know, for instance, right now, like Trevor's going to college. After you get out, you can still decide to go to college or something of that matter. Like I don't want to get too personal. I know Trevor, the Army injured you, or you got injured while, and they take onus of that.
Correct.
So they're kind of paying you because they hurt you. But Kevin, you got out on your own accord?
Yeah, so I got out on my own accord. So pretty much, yeah, how the pay works when you get out is if you do, I want to say it's 3 years, you get 100% of the GI Bill. So that's your college tuition paid for. You get a monthly housing allowance. So if I was going to school out here, I would think it'd be, $1,800 a month. And then you get a yearly book stipend of $1,000.
Here in Florida, just so the kids know, I do go to PHSC and I'm receiving about $2,000 a month to go there. And they'll pay I want to say it's about $1,000 or $500 a semester for a book stipend as well.
And
So
they pay for your tuition too. So
Yeah.
That's the big one.
So they're kind of taking care of you there. No, I know they beat you guys up a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, but to get to school, could that also apply to a technical school instead of a college? Or if I wanted to become a hairstylist or something?
Yeah. So there was actually there's two different programs. There's Voc Rehab. It's a little extension to the GI Bill where they kind of approve of what you want to do. So if they know I got a bad back. If I say I want to go be a construction worker, they're going to say, no, we're not paying for you to do that. But if I say, hey, I want to be a computer programmer, and they know I'm going to sit at 9 to 5 on my computer all day, then they'll go do that. They'll pay for that. I was cleaning my house out yesterday. I found a program called the Yellow Ribbon Program. I want to say you go to your school and they'll pay for the extra. So like for me, I wanted to go be a helicopter mechanic. There's a school down in Tampa to go do that. I want to say it was $1,800 to get all the course materials, everything for it. And if I passed it, I would show up to the VA with both the past and my bill and say, look, this is how much it cost. And the Yellow Ribbon Program basically will cover the difference of what the VA won't. So there's so much out there. The VA would have covered it if I passed. And then let's say if it was $3,600 for some reason and the VA wouldn't cover the extra $1,800, the Yellow Ribbon Program could have. So more money, more money thrown your way.
I apologize for hopping around, but Kevin, you said you were Trevor's boss.
Yeah.
So, okay. So there's bosses and there's a hierarchy. Those advancements. So there's room for advancement. If you want to move up, you can move up.
Oh, absolutely. Like that's one thing I really enjoyed about the Army was the upward mobility. So if you show up, you're good at your job and you're in shape, you'll get promoted really quickly. So I was able to go from E1 to E6 in just under 7 years. So essentially every year on average, I got promoted. So, I mean, you have like, and the great thing too, is exactly what you need to do. So there's no question of like, oh, here's what do I need to do to get promoted? The Army has a great outline. Okay, you need to do this many college classes. You need to get this score on our fitness tests. And that
was going to be my next question. It's not like it's just like the boss likes you, so he promotes you.
Oh, I wish.
It's written black and white.
Oh.
Do this, and this.
Yeah.
And do so well. That's the way you get promoted.
Yeah, it's called a promotion point worksheet. But basically, to get promoted, you need a certain amount of promotion points. But on that, it breaks down. You've got like your civilian education, your Army education, your awards and physical fitness. You've got your weapons qualifications. You have everything that makes you on that promotion point worksheet. So you can look at it and say, okay, I have 0 points for awards. I need to get some more awards.
Cool.
It's a very straightforward process.
And I apologize. I only got 1 minute left. If there's any advice you could give young people who have this in their head, and it may not be Army, it could be any one of the, was it 6 now? Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and Space Force.
Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody who's thinking this might be what's for me? What are they going to need to know going in?
It ain't easy. First, one thing my father always said is if it was easy, everyone would do it. But I would not trade my time for anything else. I spent 4.5 years in. I got married. I got divorced. Spent that time away from my family. Did not get paid a lot. Hurt myself a lot. And I'm still here in Florida. living the dream. So I appreciate all the time I spent in the Army, whether I got beat up for it or not, mentally, physically, whatever it was. Not literally beat up, I'm sorry. But whether I had to do push-ups or if I had to think of a question. I loved the Army. The only thing I would change is I think I may have went into the Air Force if I could have.
Yeah, I agree with Trevor. I would join the Air Force if I could. That said, though, I have had the best days of my life in the Army, and I've had the worst days of my life in the Army. And I would not trade either of those for anything. I think it's a phenomenal experience to get at such a young age, and one that no other job can prepare you for. So Air Force all the way.
Well, thanks guys. Thanks a lot. And I will take this edited up and send it out to you guys before I put it out there. Really appreciate it. Sorry about the short